athletes and fans of bodybuilding. Tarek El-Guindy with the Mr. Olympia. We are in Sacramento, California, the home of Trifecta. Why Sacramento? Because around Sacramento is where you find most of the farms that feed America. That's why Greg Connolly chose Sacramento for the headquarters of Trifecta. He wants to see the food that goes into every single box of Trifecta. Now we're gonna go inside and check it out. Hello athletes and fans of bodybuilding, Tarek El-Guindy with the Mr. Olympia. I'm here with the CEO of Trifecta, Greg Connolly. Greg, great to see you. Greg, here's the deal. Everybody's talking about Jay Cutler, fit for 50. The guy looks incredible. He texted me right now and he said, Tarek, obviously the chicken bowl and the bison is insane. Talk to us a little bit about why Jay Cutler is the front man for Trifecta.
Absolutely. So Jay is a fitness icon. He has been for a long time now. Obviously a four-time Mr. Olympia champion and the only person in the history of the Olympia to win, then lose, and come back and win again. So I think everybody loves the fact that Jay is kind of a come-from-behind story in general. For Jay to turn 50 now, which, you know, I actually turned 40 this Friday, so I think all of us are starting to get up there a bit, and still be in that level of shape is phenomenal. Jay got on stage this last weekend, you know, with Regan Grimes.
Yes, at the LA Fit Expo.
Yep, exactly, just to show off his physique, and he took his shirt off, and the guy looks like he's an incredible 30-year-old. Mm-hmm. So Jay has continued to keep his training on point, keep his nutrition on point. You know, obviously he's not walking around at 310 pounds and 4% body fat like he was for you know, the Olympia itself, but he's still probably, you know, mid to upper 200s, and he's still extremely consistent on his diet. We had Jay out to one of our production facilities a few months back, and we were talking about the Jay Cutler Bowl, which we're about to do a big re-release of in the next few weeks, and we brought him out some prototype meals. And he still was not eating things like salmon because he was sticking to whitefish. He felt like salmon was too much of a fatty fish. Yeah. So incredible story with Jay. Incredible that he's such an amazing ambassador for the sport. You know, I think a lot of bodybuilders or really people from any sport will get to an incredible level like Jay has, and you know, in some cases forget where they came from. And I think Jay's done an amazing job of still consistently going to shows. He'll even go to, you know, travel the world. He goes and does the USO tour. He personifies exactly what brands like Trifecta are looking for in an athlete partner. He posts consistently. He interacts with his audience. His audience is still consistently going. I mean, Jay checks every box that you could look for in an athlete partner, and we're still thrilled after, you know, it's been like half a decade now that we've been partners with Jay, that he's still a major part of the Trifecta brand and a major ambassador for the Olympia itself.
So I go around the world and a lot of people ask me about Trifecta. I was in India, I was in Brazil. Trifecta is the biggest sponsor of the Mr. Olympia. When you look at the Mr. Olympia logo, you see right on top, Trifecta. Why is it important for you to be the biggest brand on the biggest bodybuilding show? Yeah,
I love it. I think a lot of people don't get a lot of the behind the scenes of the Olympia and the brand partnerships. And I think for us, the reason the Olympia is so mission critical for us is because it's one of the oldest competitions in fitness in general. Literally this week, I just got back from the CrossFit Games. Obviously, Trifecta has done a lot over the years. We built the UFC Fight Prep program. We sponsored Team USA weightlifting. We built the PGA Tour's nutrition program. We sponsor Spartan Race. I mean, a lot of different fitness arenas and sports. And bodybuilding in the Olympia are the oldest, the most prestigious, really the category that I think a lot of the other sports properties look to in order to get inspiration and at the same time see how you can build longevity into your athletes and your partners. A lot of Olympia champions have gone on to become celebrity athletes, Jay being a great example, obviously, Arnold being one of the most famous, going on to Hollywood and politics. But for any athlete in any category of fitness, I think the Olympia has continued to remain the pinnacle. And we've wanted to really invest a lot over the years in the relationship with the Olympia because we believe it's the most prestigious property in the sports competition world, and we want to continue to be the key sponsor in that space.
Well, you are the big name. Trifecta is right there on the logo. But I want to talk to you about some of the Olympia champions. Obviously, Jay Cutler, he's an icon, like you said, but Aaron Banks, he's your athlete. He's a Trifecta athlete. He won the men's physique Olympia, and he said, Tarek, I cannot live without the chicken, rice, and broccoli from Trifecta. The Bikini Olympia champion, Maureen Blanquisco, she's your athlete, Trifecta athlete, and she said, Tarek, it's the bison for me. It's just the bison.
Love it.
And Miss Olympia herself, Andrea Shaw, she said, Tarek, the burger with the sweet potatoes, everything that I need in my life. What is it that these bodybuilders that are winning shows, they actually feel like hungry about the food that you make? Is it the ingredients?
Yeah, I think it's a few things. One, it's the quality. So a lot of brands in our space, just in the meal prep space in general, can make you meal prep, but they don't focus on where the ingredients are coming from to the level Trifecta does. So we will only source grass-fed beef that's no antibiotics ever, steroid-free, a lot of the things that people are really looking for in things like beef or bison, like you mentioned. Bison is obviously very hard to get in stores. It's 90-10 lean, and therefore it's very popular with the bodybuilders and the strongmen that are looking to build significant muscle. We only source our beef from 4 countries in the world: the United States, Australia, New Zealand, and Uruguay. Uruguay is one of the world leaders in rebuilding rainforest, making sure they're sourcing traceable grass-fed beef. The same thing with New Zealand, Australia, and the United States. Other brands will source from, to put it bluntly, places like Nicaragua, where they're clear-cutting the rainforest, and it's horrible, but you guys can watch the news about it, and machine gunning down the native populations. I mean, crazy things that are happening.
You want your food to come from a place that is positive, that's, creating a good environment for everybody, right?
Absolutely. So it is really critical for us to be able to track when it comes to the sourcing. A lot of our main beef suppliers are supplying, restaurants like Ruth's Chris, retail chains like Costco that really focus on the traceability of the meat. So I think people think of, hey, it's just chicken and broccoli, but is your chicken no antibiotics ever? Is it pasture raised? Or, a lot of companies will say, what's the difference between organic and pasture raised? Well, pasture raised, your chicken is out there eating bugs, worms, sometimes even mice. There's a lot of protein in their diets. Oftentimes organic chicken, which we actually source pasture raised instead of organic, specifically because organic chicken is oftentimes fed nothing but organic soybeans. So you're actually eating a lot of soy by eating chicken that you can be getting from other brands. So there are a lot of things that people don't think about when it comes to the food, and we make sure we're sourcing the cleanest, most macro optimized, most traceable proteins, carbs, and veggies on the planet. And that's a big part of what we invest in as a brand.
When I looked at prep meals on the internet, Trifecta checks all the boxes in terms of you have a nutritional plan which is followed by an expert. You have shipping all 50 states. But one of the things is it's easy to order the meals, right? It's just easy. It's user friendly. I often think that Trifecta is like the Apple of meal prepping. It's just easy. And you don't have to think about it. You're getting the best quality because Greg is doing all the thinking. Greg is dealing with, hey, I'll get the beef in Uruguay. Hey, I'm not going to order this chicken because I know it's not going to be good for my clients. Are you the Apple of meal prepping?
I mean, I'll take being the Apple of meal prepping any day, absolutely. There's a few things that we have dropped recently that people will care about. One is before, when you came to Trifecta, you picked a diet category like keto or paleo or just general clean eating, and we surprised you every week with the food that goes into the box. Now we let people pick any one of their meals, and we have up to 180 different meals every week to choose from. So it's a huge number of SKUs that people can choose from, and we also let people order food by macros. So a lot of people don't know that in bodybuilding, especially the big men, and even a lot of the big women in the open for women, are eating upwards of 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight while they're in the off season, really bulking up for competition. And if you're going to consume that much protein, you're going to have to use something like our meal prep service to augment your meals with additional protein. It's going to have to be multiple chicken breasts, multiple bison patties, etc. for each individual meal. Someone like Jay Cutler that we mentioned, while he was going through prep, and I think he did a fair amount of this in his Fit for 50, was eating 100 grams of protein per meal, getting ready for actually being on stage. So to build that level of muscle mass, it's a huge amount of protein and carbs you have to eat. And Trifecta, we want to give you tons of options, from choosing your meals to augmenting them with additional protein with our meal prep options and everything in between, to make it as easy as possible for people to achieve their fitness goals, whether it's competing on the Olympia stage, being a personal trainer, owning a gym, just being an influencer in the fitness space. There are a lot of different people in our industry that meal prep plays a critical role in their life and their income, and we want to create the best service possible for them, just like Apple does.
So I went to shoot Olympia Battle with Aaron Banks, and he arrived in Phoenix and he checked in at the hotel, and there was a huge box of Trifecta there for him that was delivered for him so he could perform. I tried to get the box for myself, but they said, no, you need to present your ID. And then Aaron Banks came in. We see the biggest of them all, Brian Shaw. He sometimes walks in with those boxes at the hotels. Talk to me about Brian Shaw, because I have an interest. How do you cater to a guy that big? And now there's an interest from a lot of the NFL players to cater with Trifecta, because it's one of the few meal prep companies, if not the only one, that, hey, if we have to get the big guys, we'll make it happen.
Yep, absolutely. So Aaron Banks and Brian Shaw are both great examples because they were regular guys. They were dads. Like Aaron Banks does posts about this on his social media quite a bit. He was a kind of chubby, average guy, and he went on to become the, Mr. Olympia physique.
Best in the world, yeah.
Yeah, best in the world. And he's got just incredible abs, incredible lats. He's just chiseled out of stone. And Brian Shaw's another great example. He's got 2 kids. They're going into kindergarten and 2nd grade now. And they use Trifecta as a tool to help them stay consistent. It doesn't matter which Olympian you talk to, they will tell you to compete at that level, consistency is the key. You know, I just got off of an ISSA webinar with Janet Leug, who won the 2020 Miss Bikini Olympia. And she tried for, I want to say, 8 years to win before she actually won. And it was because she just kept coming back, kept staying consistent, kept believing in herself, and used tools like Trifecta, used the right supplements, the right training. She got the right coach. We feed a lot of the top coaches in the Mr. Olympia ecosystem. Psycho Chris's and others.
He's now training Andrew Jack. Fit Body Fusion. I think a lot of the competitors from Fit Body Fusion, a lot of Kimoto athletes, they do Trifecta. So you kind of cover the whole, the coaches, the athletes. But there's something about you. Manager Matt said to me, Tarek, Greg is very competitive. He's got 3 people winning the Olympia. He will only stop when all 10 Olympia champions are eating Trifecta. Is that correct? Yep,
absolutely. We want to dominate all sport. That is the focus of our brand, and that's because we know the athletes are the ones that inspire Americans to get into shape. We obviously have a big chronic disease, weight problem in the United States, and average Americans are looking to the Olympia champions, the NFL players, the UFC fighters, the CrossFitters, etc., to learn how to get into that shape. And diet is obviously, in most cases, including in the Mr. Olympia, at least 80% of the equation. You have to stay consistent year in and year out, and we will consistently pursue the top athletes until we have all of them on board, including a lot of the the legacy athletes like Jay Cutler that are still doing a phenomenal job building the sport. So up and comers like Aaron Banks, we're thrilled to have on board because he's still got a lot of good years in him. He's still training at a phenomenal level, and he's still consistently eating Trifecta to be able to step on stage and win.
I want to talk to you, go back to Jay Cutler. You're very passionate about the competitors, but you're also very realistic. Tarek, a lot of my clients that are not competitors, they get inspired by competitors, but they're not competitors. They live a regular life. They go to the office. Some of them, they drive Ubers. Some of them, they work at an airport, and they just don't want to eat bad stuff, and they order Trifecta. Do you think that Jay Cutler right now, transitioning into a regular lifestyle, is actually getting all those people that might have been intimidated by Aaron Banks and Andrea Shaw and Maureen Blanquisco going like, oh my God, they look incredible. They have 6 abs. They have never eaten a carbohydrate. Now they're looking at Jay Cutler in his 50s and they're going, man, that could be me. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think especially inspiring people that are starting to get older. I mean, someone like Jay Cutler's an amazing example of an ambassador of the sport and of Trifecta and meal prep in general. A lot of the top YouTube videos Jay's done over the last few decades are him talking about his nutrition, his diet, his consistency, etc. So yeah, I think the Uber drivers, the TSA security people, average Americans like me, I mean, I never won the Mr. Olympia, but I like to stay in good shape. I want to go on vacation and have a 6-pack. Mm-hmm. That is a key to being successful, no matter who you are, is staying consistent on your nutrition. It's going to give you the energy to play with your kids after you make a couple flights for work like you guys did today. It's going to give you the energy to, continue any aspect of your life, your job, your family, your relationships, etc., because it's the main input. It's the fuel we're putting in our bodies that ultimately determines our success. So yeah, we've sold almost $500 million worth of food at this point, and we're not going to stop ever until we help America get back into shape.
So I want to talk to you about a delicate issue, which is leading cause of death in America, heart disease. And if you go see a doctor, the first thing they tell you is, man, you got to change your diet. You know, you got to change your diet. You are one of the biggest warriors we have in America fighting heart disease. Obviously, you have the competitive side. You have the Mr. Olympia. People love the brand. Competitors love the food. But you're actually fighting against the biggest enemy of America, which is heart disease. And a lot of people eating your food are becoming healthy. Where does that come from? Is that how Trifecta was founded? Did you think, man, I got to fight against this?
Yeah, absolutely it is. That was the cornerstone of our mission. My wife is a ER physician, so she, you know, literally day in and day out in the hospital sees people at the final stages of the obesity epidemic. You know, heart attacks, strokes, type 2 diabetes, all of these problems that are on the other end of the spectrum from bodybuilding. Where people are, you know, losing their lives every day. One person dies every 4 seconds from this problem. It'll be 7.6 million people this year that will die from chronic disease caused by their diet. So that was the whole reason we started the company. We said, hey, Elon Musk was kind enough to take on electric cars, electric houses, and getting us to Mars. One of the next biggest challenges we're facing is the obesity epidemic in the United States. So that is the thesis behind the brand and our mission as a company, and it's why we're able to resonate so well with so many bodybuilders. And we've actually helped a lot of bodybuilding legends. You know, one of the things that bodybuilders go through is when you get that big, your organs and other support systems get big as well. So people like C.T. Fletcher, who's, you know, one of our athletes, he had heart troubles going into his 60s, and he had to get a quadruple heart bypass and eventually full heart replacement at the Long Beach VA. And we were feeding him a pescatarian diet. It was mostly vegetarian with fish, to get his cholesterol down, get his heart as healthy as possible. So he was able to go in and get that quadruple bypass. He got a full heart transplant after that. So they literally put someone else's heart in his body, sewed him back up, and he's now made a full recovery. And he's been consistently eating Trifecta throughout that entire journey. So we see that a lot, that people will eat us, whether they're bodybuilders or any other sport, or average Americans who are just having trouble with their weight. They want to stay healthy. It's not just about being sexy and having a six-pack. It's about keeping your heart healthy, your liver healthy, you know, your internal systems healthy, so that you're able to live a long, healthy life.
Now, one of the things is, a lot of people talk about Trifecta being cost-effective. They go, Tarek, man, you know, I used to go out for dinner and, you know, order a steak and make, and the bill was like $350, just me and my wife. Now I order Trifecta, I'm actually eating great stuff and saving money. How can you eat clean? There's this mystique about, oh, if you eat clean, it's expensive, but you've been able to prove to people you can order my stuff, save money, and get healthy. How does that happen?
Yeah, so our least expensive option is what we call the meal prep option, which is what somebody like Brian Shaw or Aaron Banks would eat, where we're sending you protein, carbs, and veggies by weight, and it comes out to, you know, 10, 11 bucks per meal. We also have pre-made meals that are about 14 bucks per meal. If you go to somewhere like Chipotle and get a burrito bowl, it's like 11 bucks at this point. So where people save the money is they're saving a huge amount of time. I did meal prep before we launched Trifecta, and I used to go to Costco on Sunday. I'd buy a bunch of chicken and broccoli. I'd throw it in the crock pot with maybe some barbecue sauce and seasoning, and I'd be choking it down by Wednesday trying to get a six-pack. It was miserable, and I ended up throwing a ton of food away. And that's where people end up wasting a lot of money, is their grocery bill now is $300–400 with inflation, and they end up throwing a lot of the food away because they're just throwing it in a meal prep container. Trifecta food comes vacuum sealed. You can freeze it if you want. It lasts 10 days in the fridge after you've received it. All of these things allow people to maximize their dollars and ultimately end up being more successful because they've got a tool like Trifecta in their fridge. So we get both ends of the spectrum. We get people that are like, wow, this is super cheap compared to DoorDash. We get other people that say, hey, this is expensive. You know, I'm paying 10, 12, 13 bucks a meal. But ultimately, you end up saving more money than if you spent 6 hours of your Sunday doing it. I mean, you're paying yourself like $2 an hour to do meal prep versus buying Trifecta. Get your Sunday back, enjoy some football, some basketball, spend some time with your family, train harder, work on your side hustle. There's a lot of things you could be doing other than saving 50 cents by going to Costco to do your meal prep. And that's why people order Trifecta from a price standpoint.
I gotta tell you, my wife has noticed that when I have Trifecta in the fridge, come back from a trip and Trifecta is there, I don't make bad decisions. When I'm out at a hotel traveling and I don't have Trifecta with me, I didn't have a chance to go to India and have Trifecta there, I make bad decisions. Do you see do you guys study the subconscious of your consumers? If I have the food there and it's available and it's ready to go, I won't make any bad decisions. But if it's not there, I'm gonna spend more money and eat some bad stuff. Is that something you guys work with?
Yep, absolutely. It's very common in really the nutrition industry in general that when people get stressed, tired, they run out of time, all of these things cause them to make poor diet decisions. You get home from work and it's 8 p.m., you end up going, man, I deserve this In-N-Out, or I deserve this DoorDash Thai food, or whatever in particular it is. And if you have, Trifecta is just a tool. If you have meal prep that you're excited about already ready for you in the fridge, your odds of making that bad decision go down significantly. So it is a psychology game. There is only one difference between you and I and Jay Cutler, and it's his mindset. That man stayed consistent for decades on end to develop that physique. And that consistency is what ultimately helps people get into the best shape of their lives. So understanding your mind and almost tricking yourself into eating healthy consistently is where Trifecta comes in. Most people only eat 7 to 10 Trifecta meals a week. It's not all 21 meals a week, but it's enough that they're operating in a calorie deficit, they're reducing their carbs, they're eating lean protein, and they end up getting in phenomenal shape because of that. So understanding your own mind and the way that you're actually gonna be able to build a physique like these incredible bodybuilders is how you do it. It's an education thing, it's a mindset thing, and it's something we absolutely study a lot because right now, the economy's hard. Wall Street's still down a bit, Main Street's still getting hit, but ultimately, in a hard economy, what happens? People get stressed. They get stressed about their stock portfolio. They get stressed about their job. Whatever it is.
They make bad decisions.
They make bad decisions because of it, and they get further away from their goals because they didn't plan. If you plan and come into it with a blueprint for success, your odds of sticking to a plan, if you have a plan, are much higher. So we try and not only provide people with the meal prep, we also have our app that gives people exact calories, macros, step-by-step guided program for them to follow to ultimately get in the best shape of their life.
So last couple of years, Trifecta booth was the most popular at the Mr. Olympia. Huge lines, people want to see Jay Cutler, Aaron Banks is there, Andrea Shaw is there, Maureen Blanquise, all the stars are there. What are you planning for this Mr. Olympia? It's going to be in Orlando. Once the doors open, people are going to run to your booth. They want to see all the stars and they want to possibly see some news from Trifecta, a new dish. Hey, the Jay Cutler bowl is back. Can I eat it right now? What's going on with your booth?
Yeah, we are going to have the Jay Cutler bowl back, so we're really excited about that one. It's essentially a super clean burrito bowl, so white rice,
just
sliced
a quick
chicken.
question: is that something that Jay calls you and says, "Hey, man, We got to bring that back, man.
Yes,
does he bug you about it?
Yeah, Jay would love if we always had the Jay Cutler Bowl going. So yeah, we're bringing it back. It is something that we're really excited about to deliver with Jay. We will, as always, have tons of athletes there. We're going bigger than ever this year, and not just from bodybuilding. We try and bring strongmen. We've brought MMA fighters. I mean, Nick Diaz's line was like around the block at the 2019 Mr. Olympia. So, ultimately going as big as possible on the booth at the Mr. Olympia to give our best showing at the show. And I love Florida. I'm excited it's going back to Orlando. The last time it was there, obviously, was during pandemic time. So
now it's different,
it's
no
going to
COVID.
be huge this year. There's no COVID. Florida's going to come out in force. People are going to have a great destination location with Orlando to go to. They can hit Disney World or head over to the beaches or do whatever being out in Orlando. So we're really excited for it to come back to Florida in a big way after the pandemic, and Trifecta is going to be there in full force with the Jay Cutler Bowl, with Jay Cutler himself, and of course introducing meal choice to everybody, which means you can pick what you want. If you want to get shredded eating incredible breakfast burritos, knock yourself out. We've got options for everybody.
Manager Matt is a friend of mine. He's been a friend of mine for many years. He's worked with so many athletes, with Jay Cutler. He's worked with a lot of companies, but he said, Tarek, Trifecta is special for me. And I go, why is that? He goes, it's special. I know Greg and I know his thought process. Trifecta is really special for me. Why, this guy's been in the industry for so long. He's worked with a lot of companies. Why do you think it's so special for him to represent Trifecta?
Yeah, so Manager Matt, huge shout out to him. He works hard for the brand and for the athletes. I think he consistently wants what's best for his athletes, and he knows a lot of brands come and go in this industry. Trifecta's been around for almost 10 years now. We just entered year 8, and we are consistent with our athletes. We're paying everybody month over month consistently. We provide food for everybody consistently, and we provide the highest quality food, which is what he really cares about. Jay Cutler's his best friend. He wants him to be healthy until he's 100. So he really cares about how the athletes are doing and their long-term health and the food that they can eat going into competition. So Trifecta is one of the few options out there that has the super lean proteins, the super clean ingredients that athletes feel comfortable eating all the way up to competition week for the Olympia. People are eating it backstage sometimes.
Yes, I see the orange box backstage at the Mr. Olympia. It's incredible because like you said, a lot of companies come and go, but it seems like Trifecta has become part of the bodybuilding industry, right?
Yep, absolutely. It's one of the areas we started with the brand, and bodybuilding is the core of dieting and fitness. All the other sports look to bodybuilding when it comes to diet. And that's why it's so mission critical for us to have left our mark on the industry and been so deeply involved with the Olympia, is because we are, when it comes down to it, a nutrition company. We're making meal prep for hundreds of thousands of Americans, and that's our mission as a company and a brand. So the Olympia was a perfect partnership for us. We're always excited for the event. I think this is the 7th year I've personally gone to it, so I get to hand out the gold medals on stage, which is always fun. Really excited to see what's new from Aaron Banks this year, some of the big boys like Andrew Jacked and Regan Grimes.
Do you get nervous like the athletes? Because
I
even
get
as
so
a
nervous,
even as a judge, I judge the event and I'm sitting there and man, the reaction of the competitors. You're the title sponsor, you're on stage, you got to put the medal on the guy who wins the show, and the guy in 2nd place is going to be disappointed, and you're right there in the middle. What do? You're shaking hands with a guy that's the happiest day of his life, and you're shaking hands with a guy that's the saddest day of his life.
Yeah, I think anybody who makes it to even the top 20 is obviously in incredible shape and getting a lot of visibility from the Olympia in general. So nobody wants to get second place, but even getting second is still a huge win in my book. But yes, we've had athletes that were sitting champions and then they took second, one of their years. We've also had athletes, come back and win like Jay Cutler did. So ultimately, it is really exciting. I get really nervous, obviously, because these people are my friends. We've been feeding them for years leading up to it. Afterwards, we get, usually get a booth in Vegas or wherever it's at, and we go out and party with everybody until 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. But it is exciting. I mean, that's the fun of the competition, is somebody is going to get crowned #1, and we really pull for our athletes and hope they can, make it happen on stage, because years of training and effort went into it. And I mean, I'm even more stressed for you judging.
Man, I got to tell you, you look at some, Aaron Banks, right before they called the names, he was kind of sideways, right? We didn't know what was going to happen. He had his hands, and people are just waiting for, and then they announced his name and the guy just exploded on stage. Even for us judging, it is an emotional moment, because, once you win that title, nobody can ever take that away from you. I was there when Jay Cutler regained his title, and I often share this story with everybody. People come up to me and they go, Tarek, what was the greatest bodybuilding moment of your life? And I go, unquestionably. And I've watched Kobe Bryant. I've watched soccer games in Brazil with Corinthians, the most popular team. I've seen LeBron James. But when Jay Cutler regained his title, and there's that picture of the quad stomp, I was on the 3rd row. I was not judging that event. And, he's from Las Vegas, and people in Vegas love him. And it was like 20,000 people at Orleans Arena. What people don't know is when actually he hit the quad stomp, the stage vibrated. And if you were close, 3rd row or 4th row, you felt the vibration. I think, and I know Jay, and you know Jay, and he's one of the coolest and nicest guys in the world. But losing the title made him a little angry. And I think that quad stomp was like, take this to the bank, And to me, that was the greatest bodybuilding moment of all times. And obviously, Jay has, that picture has become so iconic, right? The quad stomp. And it's hard to describe, and that's why I tell people, the pay-per-view is awesome. If you can make it, buy it. But being there is just different, right?
Yep, absolutely. And Jay has so much charisma on stage. I mean, he's just a fun guy to watch. And yeah, I mean, I think that quad stomp inspired millions. I mean, the power that went into it, and he made sure to leave no doubt. He came back and he said, no matter what, I'm going to win this thing, and I'm going to be at such a size and level of conditioning that it will be undeniable that I'm going to win this event. And I love people that approach life in that way. And yeah, Jay's obviously a legend, and he remains an incredible ambassador of the sport to this day. And I was probably the, I wasn't there personally, but I watched it, and that was probably, most influential moment in my bodybuilding journey as well.
You've made history in bodybuilding because some of these athletes winning the Olympia or taking 2nd or 3rd, they get that huge medal. And on that medal, there's the Olympia logo and there's the Trifecta logo. And they'll keep those medals until they die. How do you feel knowing that you've sponsored the biggest bodybuilding show in the world, that some of these competitors have trusted you with their nutrition, which is vital for their success? There has to be a moment where you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, you know what, I think I've done well.
Absolutely. Looking down and seeing the logo on the medal for the first time, which for us was in 2018, we bought the sponsorship, from Amazon. This was before even, you know, Jake Wood was the owner, and we were incredibly excited about it. I was backstage. I had just shaken hands with Shaq, who was there. Josh Brolin, who was Thanos in the Avengers, was sitting right behind me. We had Busta Rhymes sitting a couple seats back. I mean, the place was packed with celebrities. And yeah, it was an incredible moment in my life to look down and see that gold medal and see Trifecta Presents the Mr. Olympia, and then go out there and, you know, in front of tens of thousands of people and be presenting them on stage. I actually went and bought myself a custom tailored, you know, Ted Baker designer suit right beforehand, because I wanted to look as best I could compared to the incredible bodybuilders on stage, and, you know, represent bodybuilding and the Trifecta brand as best as I possibly could. So yeah, incredible life moment. But like Jay, I'm never going to stop. I love what I do, and I want to continue doing it for decades to come.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not afraid to say that Trifecta is the Tesla of nutrition. Trifecta is the Apple of nutrition. Not only do they dominate the market, not only do they have the champions, not only do they have the most iconic figure nowadays in bodybuilding, Jay Cutler, but I can honestly say Greg Connolly is a visionary who founded his company in the necessity of making people be healthy, but in the meantime, inspiring millions and also feeding the bodybuilding industry with tremendous product. I am proud to come here every year to visit Trifecta. I'm also proud to judge the Mr. Olympia and see that logo on stage. The company is great, and the man behind is also great. Congratulations, Greg Connolly. You've done well.
Thank you, my man. Appreciate it, and we love being partners with the Olympia, being ambassadors for the sport, and always appreciate you guys coming out and getting some of the behind the scenes on Trifecta as we roll into the 2023 Mr. Olympia.
Thank you so much. My name is Tarek El Guindy with the Mr. Olympia. The Mr. Olympia is coming, Orlando, Florida, and Trifecta will be there. We'll see you guys next time.